every deal, there's power, persuasion, and performance. This is the Shark Side, where ambition meets discipline.
Welcome to the Shark Side.
Welcome to Shark Side Podcast, where quiet discipline meets real results. So we talk a little bit about business, we talk a little bit about sales, or whatever we feel like. Today, I was thinking about follow-up. Whether you're a salesperson, whether you are a business owner, follow-up is critical. It is one of the most probably underused sales techniques that can advance your book of business. And so follow-up means something different to everybody. So really realistically, let's talk a little bit of first what that looks like. And there are different stages of follow-up, right? If I meet a prospect and I want to introduce my company to them, or I want to introduce my product to them, then that follow-up could mean trying to engage conversation through email, through text, through calls, in order to set an appointment where I can formally present what I do. When I have a proposal out after I've met with someone, then there's a whole nother level of follow-up with regard to, do I owe them anything else? Do I have questions to answer for them? Or do I just need to follow up to see if we're going to move forward together in the partnership? So when we look at it, we'll kind of start from the beginning of that cycle. But follow-up really is anything that I need to do to take the next step toward having a prospect become a client. When we talk about the sales process in general, what we're really looking at is selling small things at a time. I go into a relationship with a prospect not thinking about closing the deal, not thinking about signing the contract. What I go into is my first sale is, will you meet with me? Will you give me the opportunity to introduce myself to you? Find out if this relationship is even a win-win for both of us. From there, I need to get a bunch of micro agreements and smaller agreements, small sales, so to speak, in order to move that process forward, with the ultimate final sale being having the contract signed or having the agreement to move forward. So that being said, really, when we look at follow-up, I usually process it by thinking, okay, what is the message that I'm trying to follow up with? Just checking in is not necessarily a message. I always want to set expectations on when I follow up. What does that look like? What is the expectation from you? What's the expectation from me? What are we agreeing that follow-up looks like? From there, what I want to do is I want to think about the method that I follow up: text, email, call, carrier pigeon, whatever your process involves, and then the message. When we're in the world of prospects and we're looking at moving these people forward in our sales process, even that has multiple stages, because I could have met a complete stranger who I'm introducing to me and my product and or service, and I'm just wanting them to do business with me in the future. There's no timeline, there's no expectations. So what does that follow-up look like? I have to vary the method. I don't want to call every time. I don't want to text every time. I don't want to email every time. I want to vary that. And I don't want to use the same message over and over and over again, which would be, hey, I provide this widget or I provide this service. Please think of me in the future. I want to find some way to vary that message every single time that I send it out. It could be a market update one time or a product update one time. It could be a customer testimonial the next time. It could be a industry relevant topic of information the following time. So when I think about that, if I look at, there's 3 methods that I'm going to generally reach out, and there's, let's say, 4 different messages or message themes, I can really take care of a whole year worth of follow-up to a prospect that's in my pipeline at the very highest level, which is not ready to do business, but I need to keep them aware. What's going to happen if I just keep saying checking in, or if I keep sending them generic canned sort of follow-up prospecting emails is they're just going to tune that out. It just becomes like a commercial on the radio or a commercial on TV, and people are just going to tune it out. And that's why it's so critical to vary the method and the message, because when I do that, if I have 4 different messages over 3 different methods, what I've done is they really only hear the same thing one time, because each message is going to have a different method delivered throughout the year. So I have 12 months of not hearing the same message in the same method of communication, if that makes sense. So that's where I would start at on the prospect level, on the very high level of I entered them into the CRM, and I am just basically, for lack of a better term, drip campaigning them. I am not a huge fan of mass drip campaign emails. I think that for most of us, for most businesses that I work with, for most salespeople that I work with, and most real estate agents, most mortgage loan officers that I work with, the number of people that they have to have in their pipeline actively is usually under 2,000. So if I have 2,000 people in my CRM that I want to try and actively work with, and l- for argument's sake, let's say all of those are in the high prospect stage. Really what I'm looking at is if I work 50 weeks, I've got to contact about 40 people a week. If I work 5 days, that's about 8 people a day. If I work 8 hours, that's about 1 person per hour that I have to have a personalized message for and understand what method to send it in. And that's why I say sometimes we get infatuated with big numbers and we want to get 2,000 people in our CRM and we just want to drip campaign them the same thing over and over and over again, instead of really looking at how can I personalize this message to the person I'm talking to, and how very easily, just by writing notes, how can I vary the method? Do I text them this time? Do I email them this time? Do I call them this time? Now, like every other rule, rules are meant to be broken. There's always exceptions to rules. So I'm not saying that 100% of the time this is the way it works in the real world. I understand sometimes you have to make exceptions to that. Sometimes exceptions, um, or sometimes the general rule of mass emailing people works. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But in general, if I'm trying to nurture these people down to the next stage of the sale, I am much better off having a very customizable message sent in a different method every time. Now, we will find that as we move forward with this, we're going to see that a certain person always responds to email. A certain person always responds to text. I can see that this person never opens my emails, in which case, again, I will just vary that and I'll take into account. So for certain clients, I may only have 2 methods because I know they never answer emails. Or I may notice that every single time I send them a text message, they at least give me a thumbs up or they respond in some manner. So I have the opportunity at that point to even further customize that follow-up process. So that's the beginning top end of the funnel. When I get closer to the bottom end of the funnel, what I really find is that all of a sudden, again, I want to make sure that throughout this relationship with the client, I understand how they prefer to be communicated with: call, text, email. Uh, on the bottom end of the funnel, the communication should always be very specific to what our goal was. When I meet with a client and I take them through the sales process, when I get to the point where they're at a decision making time, if they say, I want to think about it, or, I'm going to check budget, whatever the case may be, and I've tried to counsel them through any concerns they have, and they truly want me to follow up. A couple of things that I do in that scenario are: number one, I always set a time frame for the follow up. Generally, I would like that to be within 48 hours. And sometimes, again, the rules are meant to be broken. There's always exceptions. But in general, I shoot for 48 hours or less. I try to ask the client, say, hey, understand your situation. You need to think about it. You need to check budget. You need to prepare, whatever the case may be. When would you like me to check in with you? And if they say this afternoon, great, I do it. If they say in the morning, great, I do it. If they say I'm not sure, or, call me in a week, I will try to bring it back to 48 hours or less and say, hey, week's a long time. Uh, not sure what my schedule is going to look like. Not what sure what your schedule is going to look like. Here's what I will do. I'm going to call you. Today is Wednesday. I'm going to call you Friday afternoon. If it makes sense, we'll go ahead and set a time to talk again a week out from today to make sure that you've had time to do whatever you need to do. But I at least want to check in with you on Friday to make sure everything's moving forward. See if you have any additional questions or anything I need to prepare for when we talk again next week. Um, that way, I never let that communication go outside of 48 hours. Again, rules are meant to be broken. I don't have control over whether they say no to that or not, but I'm going to at least attempt to make a contact and follow up within that 48 hours. The other thing I want to do when I follow up at the bottom end of the funnel is I want to make sure that I always have a very specific thing that I'm going to follow up on. So when I call you on Friday, we will discuss XYZ, or you will provide me with XYZ, or you will let me know what the budget range is for this project, service, whatever it may be, widget. So I want to stay in control of the follow up. The one thing I don't want to do, which is not follow up, is allow the client to say, I will call you later this week. I will call you next week. I'll call you when I make a decision, because we lose all control of it at that point. And so, again, these are the types of things that if somebody says, I'll call you next week, hey, I know you're busy. I'm busy. I want to make sure that I'm available and have the ability to give you all the attention that you deserve in this situation. How about I pencil you in for Friday afternoon? Let's just touch base. If we need to set a more specific time frame or meeting at that time, we can. If not, you can let me know if you have any other additional questions. Or hey, maybe we'll just wrap it up if everything goes well. Does 2 or 3 work better for you? In general, in my process, I like to give people A/B options. So when I'm in charge of making that appointment, like I should be, I will say, why don't we follow up in a couple of days? Does Thursday or Friday work better for you? If they say Friday, I say, great, morning or afternoon. Morning, great. Looks like I have a 10 or 11 available, which works better for you. If they say 10:30, I'll say, yep, I should be able to make that work. If they say, oh, yeah, neither of those times work, we'll probably have to do Friday afternoon. Awesome. I have 1 and 3, which works better for you. But try to give them a couple of options, less decisions to make. It's easier for them to do it that way. So we just say Tuesday or Thursday, Friday or Saturday, whatever the 2 days are, morning or afternoon, a couple of times. And that helps you stay in control of that process. We have to understand that, well, we're trying to build a relationship here. And I want this to be a win-win for both of us. Someone has to be in control or it drifts. We are more likely to achieve the outcome that both of us are looking for if it doesn't drift. And the only way to prevent that is if somebody's sort of in control, somebody's steering that ship, so to speak. So we really want to be in control. It portrays much more confidence and competence on our part when we're in control. The client will make decisions much easier. And as part of this relationship, all we're really trying to do is help them to make decisions. Help them to get to the place that the outcome that they're looking for, whether it's a happiness place or, preventing some sort of tragedy or fear on their part. But we do that much better when we are in control. And that's why this whole follow-up part of it becomes so critical, because too many times sales are lost, not during the sales when we're demonstrating capability, but during the follow-up process because we just don't keep it tight enough. We don't have the customer dialed in on specific timeframes to follow up, but also specific topics. What are we going to do when we follow up? Just telling a customer, I'll follow up with you on Friday. What are we going to follow up on about? I will follow up with you on Friday. I'll answer any additional questions you might have. If everything looks good, we'll go ahead and take care of you and get you on the schedule, or we'll go ahead and take care of you and get you set up for delivery. We'll go ahead and take care of you and, um, schedule your first training meeting, whatever your deal may be, whether it's a, you know, product you sell, whether it's a service you sell. And this is generally for longer sales cycle stuff, because I know that I work with a lot of service industry companies. And in that scenario, there's less follow up because if your air conditioning needs repair, technician goes out, gives you the price to do the repair. Not a lot of follow up involved with that. Most people in that scenario, if the price is reasonable, are probably not going to get 3 or 4 other bids because it's just too hot. Same thing if the water heater is leaking everywhere. Uh, but even in those scenarios, if that client does ask you, "Hey, I'm getting another bid. I'll let you know tomorrow." Same scenario. "Hey, no problem at all. Go ahead and check out the other bid. If you'd like me to review it, if there's any differences between the two bids, I'll tell you why mine was different or why I did suggest something or didn't suggest something that might have been on the other bid. When are you having the other bid done tomorrow morning? Great. So why don't I follow up with you tomorrow afternoon? I'll answer any additional questions that you have. If it makes sense, I'll go ahead and get you on the schedule at that time." So those are the sort of critical components when we look at doing follow up. As we know through industry statistics, it takes far more follow ups to close a deal than we expect. And in most cases, we have patience for, or discipline for, or even the desire to do. You see studies that say most sales are made between the sixth and the eighth contact. So when you look at that, you really have to be conscious of, as I'm moving people through my funnel, how many times have I contacted them? And the thing that I can't stress enough is that contact is not enough. Hey, checking in is not enough. We have to have a valid reason each and every time that we reach out. So I'll give you a real estate example. If I were a real estate agent and I were contacting somebody that was in my pipeline and they said they were, let's say, 9 months out, they had, for whatever reason, maybe they're going to get married, maybe they're having an additional child, they want to wait, and then they're going to look at buying a home at that time. That follow up sequence should follow their scenario. So it could be, "Thank you for meeting." That's one touch. The next month, it could be talking about the market itself. Real estate is doing this, mortgage rates are doing that. The following month, it could be giving them an update on new things that are going on in the city that they're looking to move to, events that are happening in that city. The fourth month, it could go back to, how is everything looking on our timeline? Is there anything I need to prepare for? Is there any additional information that you would like about this community or about this city that you're looking to move to? The fifth month, we look at something else. It could be new companies moving into or new shopping areas being built, things that are relevant to them. So when we think about that, the key to all of this is we have to leverage a CRM, or we have to leverage some kind of tool that reminds us who we should be calling, who we should be texting, who we should be emailing, what the topic should be. Once you get in the groove, once you get the hang of doing this, it becomes very second nature. And again, remember what I talked about, the 2,000 people, the 8 people a day, the 1 person an hour. You should be able to time block out whether you do all 8 in the beginning of the day, or you spread them out throughout the day, or you do it a couple times a day, 4 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon. It is not overwhelming. But you have to be disciplined, you have to be in control, and you have to have a plan for follow-up in the same way that every business owner should have a plan for all components of their business. And I think too many times, salespeople don't look at their business like a business. They just look at the daily function of doing sales, and they don't think to themselves, and they're not intentional enough about everything they do, how they prospect, how they plan their prospecting, how they follow up on those prospects, how they do their presentations, how they follow up with the customers who they presented to. Small businesses should be doing this. As a business owner, or if you have a sales staff, they should be that process oriented. But salespeople, even if you work for a company, you should take ownership of your process. You should take ownership of all of the things you do on a daily basis and think to yourself, as a business owner, I'm a small business owner as a salesperson. How do I run my business? How do I allocate my time? How do I follow up? What's the most effective, efficient way to do things so that I can move everyone through my pipeline in an orderly manner? So I hope this helped you guys out a little bit about follow-up. Clarified a few things on the way I see it, the way I execute it. As always, reach out if you have any questions, if you have any topics you would like to see covered on the Shark Side. But for now, it was great being here with you. This is the Shark Side, where quiet discipline meets real results.
Thanks for watching. Visit our website and follow us on social for more. Until next time, stay sharp.